Surviving is the same thing as winning. By Please Dow 123. Chapter 4. Enter Kabuto. Kakashi had managed to convince the nurses to put his 3 students in the same room in the end, and thus had settled himself in a chair to keep watch as they all lay still and silent in deep sleep. Sasuke was hooked up to an IV, the seal having done some damage to him. The fever and the resurgent surge of malicious chakra, not his own, had ravaged his immune system apparently, and he would have to be careful about not getting sick for the next few weeks. They had also taken a lot of energy out of him, and he was in desperate need of nutrients. His ribs had been healed, so his body didn't have to worry about that, at least. Sakura, on the other hand, had had some extreme swelling of her face and wrist by the time they made it to the hospital, and it had taken the medic nearly an hour to make sure he had healed everything under the swelling. Her wrist had been healed as well, and she was also hooked up to an IV because soldier bills took a lot out of you after the initial rush. Naruto was fine, just exhausted. They had told him if anyone else had had their chakra messed with to the degree the seal Orochimaru had placed, they probably would have gone into shock and their body might have started to shut down. Naruto's status as a Jinchuriki had saved him that fate, but he was drained. Not empty of chakra, but simply exhausted. The Hokage had tried to summon him for a report, and Kakashi had sent a reply saying he suspected Orochimaru may send another agent after Sasuke, so he was playing it safe. The fact that Hokage had not sent a reply or an order said that the man trusted Kakashi to do what needed to be done. Kakashi knew that he would have to wake the 3 the next day, no matter how tired they were. He needed to seal Sasuke's curse mark, needed to fix Naruto's, and then they had to start training. So Kakashi watched over them carefully as they all lay exhausted and vulnerable and made plans. Kakashi was only lightly dozing when his instincts bleared to life and woke him up. He cracked his eye open, peering about the dark hospital room, only lit by the faint moonlight seeping in. There was an Anbu standing over Sasuke. Kakashi didn't even hesitate. He had already flared his chakra in an emergency pattern as he went for the stranger's throat. Maybe it was a real Anbu, but none would have been stupid enough to not simply wake Kakashi instead of sneaking around. So Kakashi went for the kill, kunai whipping out and spinning straight for the most vulnerable jugular. Whoever he was good for simply having made it all the way into the room before Kakashi sensed him, but Kakashi was not renowned for no reason. The man barely had time to flinch back before Kakashi's kunai had sliced his throat open nearly to the bone. He stumbled back, hand gripping the wound as blood arched across the room. Kakashi could sense the Anbu on patrol honing in on their location, could sense his students waking behind him at the level of violence in the room despite the sedatives. But Kakashi kept his eyes on the other man, noting that despite having his throat torn wide open, the man had not collapsed and in fact was still moving backwards. "Take Kakashi!" The man chuckled through a destroyed throat. "I should have known you would be here." Kakashi gave him no chance for banter, lashing out again. The man dodged the swing of his kunai, but Kakashi had been covering the movement of his other hand, drawing the tanto strap to his lower back. He went for a beheading stroke with the old white blade. The man ducked under his swing, but not quick enough, and for his trouble cut a deep slice across his mask, cracking it right in half. Kakashi took in the sight of glasses and silver hair for barely a moment as green chakra lit the boy's hand, somehow healing his torn throat. The boy lunged to the side as Kakashi went for a double strike with both the blades in his hand. Kakashi spun after him, of course, but it had been a deliberate driving swing on his part. The boy, Kabuto, if he remembered correctly, stepped back right into the blade of Kakashi's backup. Kabuto ripped himself off the blade that was straight through his heart and lashed out at the Anbu behind him. Kakashi had torn his throat open, and this Anbu had destroyed his heart, and the kid was brushing these attacks off like they were merely paper cuts. The Anbu dodged his retaliation, carefully redirected swings that would have come too close to the kids in the hospital beds. But Kabuto wasn't focused on them, it seemed, as he made a break for the window. Not focusing on the kids was a mistake, because as Kabuto leapt over one bed, diving for the window, Sakura's hand stepped out, grabbing him by the ankle. Kakashi saw his ankle shatter as Sakura clenched her fist, bringing him down. He rolled out of her grip, of course, like she hadn't shattered his ankle, and stood, his escape cut off by the new Anbu on the windowsill. He was surrounded now, looking between Kakashi and the two Anbu, trying to find the weak link. "Pin him down!" Kakashi ordered, voice dark and commanding. The Anbu didn't even hesitate, going for the boy. Kabuto fought well, far too well, but even he could not fight off two Anbu in a narrow space as they went for all his vitals. Then Sakura and Sasuke joined the fray. They couldn't rip themselves from the IVs and the beds, but they threw genjutsu at the man, expertly layering the low-level genjutsu in tandem. Kabuto could obviously break out of them, but that took precious time and focus because they could just keep reapplying them. And then there were the blow darts to consider, which no one had. Naruto landed 5 darts to Kabuto before he had even realized what was happening. They were coated in a paralytic Sakura had made, which Kakashi doubted would do anything to a man who could heal a destroyed heart. But Jujutsu, paralytic, and 2 Anbu proved to be too much for the boy, and he was faltering. Kakashi waited for his opening, careful and considering and patient. And when it presented itself, Kakashi shoved an armful of lightning through the boy's stomach, making sure to rip it up and destroy the majority of his internal organs. For good measure, his Tanto followed, beheading the kid. Silence rang through the room as Kakashi let the Chidori fade away, taking the noise with it. "Keep his head separate," Kakashi said. "Burn the body." "We could study it," one of the Anbu said. "Burn the body," Kakashi repeated, turning to face the masked man. He made his posture tall and imposing, kept a threat in his voice, and gave the Anbu such a cold glare. The man bowed. Kakashi did not want to see if the boy could reattach his own head and regrow organs. Each Anbu took a part and vanished out the window. Kakashi turned to his students. Sakura was already out again, passed out from chakra use of her already depleted stores. Sasuke had followed after her. Naruto was awake still, holding his blow dart in his hand tightly. "Good job," Kakashi told him softly in the silence. "I'm not tired anymore," Naruto said, staring at the blow dart. "I'm not leaving," Kakashi smiled. "You don't have to stay up to guard." But Naruto shook his head and leaned against the headboard. Kakashi sighed and finally turned toward the door where the Medicanin was calmly sending out a chakra pulsed Morse code. Kakashi flared his own chakra in the all-clear signal. He felt all the Medicanin and ninja on duty in the hospital start to move. He was glad to see they were as efficient as ever in cases of emergency lockdown. "What do you think?" Kakashi asked, because every moment was a learning moment. Naruto scrunched his nose, furrowed his brow, and flipped the seal upside down. "Won't work," he finally said. "It's been used before," Kakashi pointed out. "It's helped." "Helped, but not worked," Naruto shrugged. "It wears thin too quickly." "What would you suggest then?" "I don't know," Naruto said sheepishly. Sasuke snorted from the circle. "Hey, just because I'm not a master yet, doesn't mean I'm not better than you," Naruto howled. "Still useless then," Sasuke snorted. Naruto steamed beside him, but Kakashi could see there was no real heat in their words. They were just being bratty kids. Kakashi sighed and looked at the seal again. They needed to do something about Sasuke's seal, but Naruto was right. Despite his prodigious speed in learning seals, he was not a master. Kakashi sighed. Well, they'd used what they had for now, and he had an idea of what to focus on with Naruto for the next month. Kakashi shooed Naruto away from the circle so they could temporarily seal Sasuke's curse mark. The Anbu watching from the shadows barely even shifted as Naruto rumbled. Kakashi gave the shadows a faint nod as Sasuke collapsed. The Anbu that would be tagging the kid for the next few days followed him as he tucked Sasuke back in his hospital bed. Sakura was still asleep from the night before and didn't even stir as her team entered the room again. Naruto climbed back into his own bed with only one stern look from Kakashi. The boy must be tired if he gave up so little of a fight. Kakashi rewarded him by pulling out a scroll on sealing. It had some notes on the seal that had been used to cut Naruto off from his chakra that they had lifted earlier. Today was rest day after all the sealing business. Tomorrow would be business.